Task number 8, trees, forests, and trusts. This task is part of the BBC. Know what I'm saying? I don't know, whatever. So, task number 8, trees, forests, and trusts is part of the Active Directory Basics module inside the complete beginner path on TryHackMe. So far, we have discovered how to manage a single domain, the role of a domain controller, and how it joins computers, servers, and users. Here we see a domain, a DC root, right? Domain controller a root, and how it joins users, servers, and computers. As companies grow, so their networks. Having a single domain for a company is good enough to start, but in time, some additional needs might push you into having more than one. And here we have 3 domains. Trees. We have trees. Imagine, for example, that suddenly your company expands to a new country. The new country has different laws and regulations that require you to update your GPOs to comply. In addition, you now have IT people in both countries. Each IT team needs to manage the resources that corresponds to each country without interfering with the other team. While you could create a complex organizational unit structure and use delegations to achieve this, having a huge Active Directory structure might be hard to manage and prone to human errors. Luckily for us, Active Directory supports integrating multiple domains so that you can partition your network into units that can be managed independently. If you have 2 domains that share the same namespace, TryHackMe.local, as you can see here, but from different countries, those domains can be joined into a tree. If our TryHackMe local domain was split into 2 subdomains for UK and US branches, you could build a tree with a root domain of TryHackMe and 2 subdomains called UK and US TryHackMe.local, each with its Active Directory computers and users. This partition structure gives us a better control over who can access what in the domain. The IT people from the UK will have their own domain controller that manages the UK resources only. For example, a UK user would not be able to manage US users. In that way, the domain administrators of each branch will have complete control over their respective domain controllers, but not other branches' DCs. Policies can also be configured independently for each domain in the tree. It's pretty logical. A new security group needs to be introduced when talking about trees and forests. The enterprise admins group will grant the user administrative privileges over all of the enterprise's domains. Each domain would still have its domain admins with administrator privileges over their single domain and the enterprise admins who can control everything in the enterprise. Forests. If these are trees, right, we can see over here another tree, but is the main domain, right? It's MHT. It's TryHackMe, but written on the opposite direction. And we have EU and Asia. These 2 form forests. Pretty logical. The domains you manage can also be configured in different namespaces. Suppose your company continues growing and eventually acquires another company called MHT Incorporation. When both companies merge, you will probably have different domains trees for each company, each managed by its own IT department. The union of several trees with different namespaces into the same network is known as a forest. Trust relationships. Having multiple domains organized in trees and forests allows you to have a nice compartmentalized network in terms of management and resources. But at a certain point, a user at TryHackMe UK might need to access a shared file in one of MHT Asia servers. For this to happen, domains arranged in trees and forests are joined together by trust relationships. In simple terms, having trust relationships between domains allows you to authorize a user from a domain, for instance, TryHackMe UK, to access MHT EU. EU, boy! The simplest trust relationship that can be established is a one-way trust relationship. In a one-way trust, if domain AAA trusts domain BBB, this means that a user on BBB can authorize the access resources on AAA. Here we can see that is this relationship is reciprocal, right? Domain A can access BBB and BBB AAA. The direction of a one-way trust relationship is contrary to that of the access direction. Two-way trust relationships can also be made to allow both domains to mutually authorize users from the other. By default, joining several domains under a tree or a forest will form a two-way trust relationship. It is important to note that having a trust relationship between domains doesn't automatically grant access to all resources on that domain. On other domains, once a trust relationship is established, you have the chance to authorize users across different domains, but it's up to you what is actually authorized or not. Answer the questions below. What is a group of Windows domains that share the same namespace called? Here we can see if domains share the same workspace, they are trees. Tree. What should be configured between two domains for a user in domain A to access resources in domain B? We copy this, but we can see actually from the spaces, I think it's and let's paste this, a trust relationship. Awesome.